Ajah. Today I am not giving you my 3-year Loc'd journey. I know I mentioned last time that I might do that, and it turns out I don't want to do that. If you really are that interested in watching my journey, the best way to watch it is to go to my hair playlist on my channel and go through the journey with me, right? Slowly. If you really want just one video to document 3 years, someone else has done that, I'm sure, on the YouTubes. Someone else has done that. I'm not doing that. I don't have time for that. And I just thought about it and I was like, no. So today's video is actually going to be all about toxicity within the Loc'd hair community. Namely, the Facebook communities, because actually I only know other people with locks through Facebook. I have met other people who have locked hair, obviously. When I left America, my mom had locks. She doesn't anymore. My sister has locks and has had them in the past, but when I left America, she didn't have them. My point being that I have known people with locks before, but I've never had like a lock community. So where do you go when you want to find a bunch of people who are into the same thing that you're into? Facebook. Or YouTube. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, but mostly Facebook, because I feel like Instagram is pictures and like people tell you about themselves. It's kind of one-sided, right? It's not a conversation. And then YouTube is a little bit more of a conversation. You can kind of make requests on YouTube from the YouTubers that you like to watch, and you know, you comment, sometimes they comment back, and that's cool. But again, I don't feel like that sense of community on YouTube. I do feel like I get that sense of community through Facebook. So these Facebook groups, they're full of people who like the same thing you like, and then you talk about that thing. And I'm in like 3 groups for people with locks. I'm not gonna name them because I don't know if that's appropriate. I don't know, some of them might be private groups, but I say that to say that I'm pretty active on the Facebook in these lock groups, talking to people about locks, and what I've learned is a lot of the lock community is very judgmental. So I thought it would be fun to make this video today about what the lock hair community might or will judge you for. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting locks, or if you have locks and you want to know what other people with locks think about your locks, stay tuned. 1, the first thing that they will definitely judge you for is being non-black. But I think this one is obvious. Like, if you are non-black and you have dreadlocks, I'm judging you too. We're all judging you. Are you allowed to have locks if you're not black? Yeah, of course, obviously. Just like any other hairstyle in the world, you're allowed. Just like clothes, hair, shoes, anything you want to wear and put on your body to represent you, you're allowed to do that. However, should you? Should you? It's my personal opinion that I don't like to throw around the words cultural appropriation like all willy-nilly, because people take that to heart. They're very sensitive about those words. My opinion of cultural appropriation is that if you made a solid effort to understand the history and culture behind a certain cultural thing that you decided to put on, then it's not appropriation, right? You've decided to understand it. It's more so joining the club than it is stealing from the club. But it's also my personal opinion that if you really understood the struggle, the history, the culture, the implications behind certain cultural attributes, then you would not take them on as a non-black person. If you understand it and you do it, it's not cultural appropriation. But if you understood it, you wouldn't do it. So if you just exist in a lock group as a white person or a person who appears to be white, most people are not gonna just call you out and be mean to you. However, there have been occasions where a white person says something out of pocket and then they promptly got checked. 2, they're gonna judge you for having the wrong type of locks. So this is a tough one, but basically some people freeform, and there are people who like super manicured locks, and then there are people who like very natural looking locks. They want it to be very natural and not carefully manicured, but also have a problem with freeformers. It's weird. So like we have the freeformers on one hand, they're usually less judgmental because, you know, they're all about freedom and wearing your hair however you want, right? You would think. But on occasion, they're gonna come for somebody with locks like mine, for example, because it would appear on the surface that I only have locks for fashion reasons. And, you know,
these are a spiritual journey. Locks are all about a spiritual journey.
I feel ways, but let's keep moving. Then there's people with very manicured locks who are gonna look at people who have wicks or freeform locks, and they're looking at them sideways like,
that looks kind of messy. I don't like that. No.
I think that both sides of those arguments are wrong. You've got people giving advice to people saying you should only retwist your hair about once a year. That's the only way to have it healthy, and that's not true for everyone. Then there's people out here who say you should retwist your hair every 4 to 6 weeks like clockwork, because that's the only way to maintain, you know, the pristine health and, you know, neatness of your locks so they can be uniform, perfectly uniform. And that's not true for everyone either. So at the end of the day, why are you judging people for how their locks look? Like, can you mind your business? Moving on. Number 3, another thing that the lock community will probably judge you for is lack of knowledge about the process. So if you're just starting out with your locks, don't come into these Facebook groups and immediately start asking questions. Come into the Facebook group and immediately start using the search function. Use the search function because 10, 20, 30, 100 million people done asked you a lot of people done already asked the question that you're about to ask. And some people will answer that same question all day, every day with a kind and helpful spirit. Not me. I'ma scroll past it because you didn't use the search function. Or I'ma just post one of my YouTube videos that addresses your question. But some people will just go off in your comment section because do your research. Do your research. They're gonna say that to you. Do your research. Do your research. Yeah, people just don't like repeating the same answers to the same questions, and it's really not that hard to just look it up. If you really want to know, look it up. Don't just ask people to feed you the answers. Do your research. I am not going to be one of the people who writes you a judgmental or rude comment. I might have done it, did it in the past once or twice, and I regret that. I'm remorseful to a degree. But what I have decided is that I'm going to ignore all those questions because, like I said, people do it over and over again. And why? For why? Use the search function. Thank you. Fourth of all, people in the lock hair community will judge you for anything unnatural. And I put unnatural in quotey quotes because it is actually even questionable as to whether or not locks are natural. What? Yeah, let me explain. For most people, if you didn't freeform, you formed your locks. That means you put your hair into position to create locks. Therefore, the whole process of making that happen is not the natural process of how your hair just grows out of your head. That's the argument anyway. I don't really agree with that, but some people feel that way. And that's their argument that you can use. That's the argument you could use against someone in the locked hair community who's being a natural hair totalitarian. Because these are the things that they will judge you for. Coloring your hair, using hair extensions, if you want to put a weave over your locks, if you want to put braids over your locks, twists over your locks, any of that. If you just want to like add permanent lock extensions so you can just jump straight into long hair, judgment. Because again, there are people who feel as though locks are a
spiritual journey.
And therefore, any shortcuts or anything you do to intervene in that spiritual journey and focus solely on fashion or looks, the appearance of your hair, is not natural. You're no longer natural, according to those people. And they're gonna judge you for it. And I think that's silly. I think that's silly. No one asked my opinion, but I think that's silly. And I really feel like some people feel like people who add extensions are taking something from them. Like, I went through the journey. I went through the ugly phase. I went through this and that. And y'all kids these days, you just skipping ahead straight to, you just want to get to the finish line. So, don't be mad because you didn't think to get to the finish line faster. Or you went through the journey because you wanted to go through the journey. That's your business. That's what you wanted. Don't worry about what other people doing. They don't want that. They don't want all the blessings and the benefits and the wonder that you got out of your lock journey. That's their prerogative. And finally, number 5. The last thing that I want to talk about that I know the locked hair community will judge you for. It is product use. Girl, or guy, or non-binary human. Don't use no gel in your hair. In fact, you know what's worse than gel? Wax. Ooh, don't say the word. Don't say the word in the Facebook groups. Don't say the word wax. Beeswax? No. And here's the thing. I would never put that in my hair. One, because I don't need it. My kinky black afro textured hair will lock on its own and doesn't need a product to hold stuff together. But also because I'm terrified of buildup, which is, you know, mainly the argument against using these thick products, is that you're gonna get buildup and eventually ruin your locks or weigh them down really heavy and then you need to cut them, etc. Which is valid. But some people just don't want you to use that stuff because it's not natural enough. It's got too much chemicals in it. This isn't really fruit of the earth. It's not good for your hair. You need to only use avocado oil and rainwater in your hair. Said somebody sometime, I'm sure. I even saw a post today that said, if I can't eat it, I don't put it in my hair. And I'm just thinking, I can't think of a single food that would be a good thing to put in my hair. Your scalp does not have a mouth. What? Anyway, just know that if you post a picture of a product that you picked up because you thought it was cute or it smelled good or whatever, and you say, should I use this in my locks? You're gonna have like maybe 1 or 2 people who actually tried it and think yes or no to whether you should use it. And the rest is all gonna be judgment from people who are like,
Products? How could you use a products?
so just expect that. So, yeah, that is my list for you of things that the locked hair community will judge you for. I want you to know that I made this video to make you laugh. I don't want you to be scared of the Facebook groups now because Ajah said they're mean and judgmental. There are always going to be nice and helpful people on there who are actually going to give you good advice, good help, good whatever. But there's also going to be people who have a very strict idea of what locks are and should be. And when you step outside the bounds of that, they're gonna judge you. So I hope that this is helpful to you. I hope that this helped prepare you for some of the judgment, some of the toxicity within the locked hair community. And if you watch to the end of this video, subscribe. Because honestly, like, think about it. This is a long video and you watched this much of it. You must like something about me. So just subscribe because I'm in all my videos. And I will talk to you guys soon. So bye. Do your research.